Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, Alex Jones. Coming up, two very important reports: The Delusions of King Barack Obama by John Bown, and laser beams. Boeing's weapons get sci-fi sound effects. Leanne McAdoo looks deeply into that. We have another police officer shot in the back randomly, probably part of the war on local police Soros is financing. That's out of the Houston Chronicle. We're going to be looking at that attempt. The officer is not dead, but is in the hospital. That's at least good news, because they want to kill a bunch of cops and get the cops all militarized, folks. It's the plan. People out there cheering stuff like this are idiots. Once a civil war starts, it's not going to be a joke. Scientists in a major report say lack of good gut bacteria could be giving you cancer. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at Rupert Murdoch preparing to step down as CEO from 21st Century Fox. Egyptian police arrest U.S. embassy worker on terror charges. Yeah, the Obama administration is running al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood inside of Egypt. That's come out in an Egyptian court. We already knew that, but it's really crazy that our government would be funding the enemies of our allies to put horrible people in charge to destroy one of the most populous countries, well, the most populous country in the Middle East. You talk about a powder keg situation. This is dangerous. Coming up, Paul Ryan, Pelosi-esque moment, says it's declassified. Speaking of TPP, says it's declassified and made public. Then they will release it to the public. So there you go. It's declassified and made public when it's agreed to. So you can read it after we pass it. And we know what it gives Obama, dictatorial power over everything. And that's now coming out as WikiLeaks releases another piece of the puzzle. Now, again, joining us from Austria is Paul Joseph Watson, Rob Dew, and Josh Owens. Major new developments since we talked to them 21 hours ago here on the Wednesday edition. Bilderberg 2015. The very top, the paramount area of global power structure. The 150 members, they say it's 130. There's usually 15, 20 extra secret attendees, sit on top of all the major corporate boards, government boards, military boards, and then have their minions under them carrying out money laundering, snuff films, weapons contracts, illegal deals, arms sales to dictators. I mean, you name it, they're involved. Just pick anybody, they're involved at the top of Bilderberg, and they're just involved in every nastiness, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Henry Kissinger or David Rockefeller. It only gets worse. And again, these are the people that went to the scientific technological elite that Eisenhower warned of in 1961 in his farewell address as Kennedy was coming in, and decided to go with this eugenics plan. The computers, the checkpoints, the cell phones, the control grids, they've all... Brzezinski in 1976 wrote a book breaking it all down, the Technotronic Era. I remember being like 9 years old, and my dad said, when you get old enough, son, you need to read this. And I was like, what's the book about? He goes, well, the government brings in the drugs so they can control organized crime. And the government launders the money, and they're going to put in computers that control everything and track everyone. It's going to be just like Brave New World. And then later, when I was about, 11 or 12, I read the Brzezinski book. Didn't understand much of it, but it seemed wild. Do you understand? I mean, he wrote books that they put Khmer Rouge in to kill a third of the Cambodian population. They write books bragging about their evil. That's who's at this meeting. And they set all this up. I mean, they are smart. They are powerful. There's a reason people worth $100 billion go to Bilderberg and grovel to them. You know, Bill Gates is gone, all of them. Because these guys built our world. I mean, they're the ones that are turning our world into a nightmare. That's why they're important. Every major UN property given to them by these people. All the corporate boards set up by these people since at least the late 50s. David Rockefeller, Zbigniew Brzezinski, and Henry Kissinger, along with George Shultz and a few others, have run the entire country and thus the Western world. And they have set it all up. And they don't want you to know about it. They don't want you to discuss it as they prepare to merge the 3 global unions into one superstate under 10 subregions. Where did I read that? I remember being in Sunday school and they talked about the 10 regions, the 10 kings. Either it's all true and happening in prophecy or the globalists are following it as a blueprint. Either way, it's real. Just like you could say, was science fiction written 100 years ago by Jules Verne? Was he psychic or was he just a good guesser? Doesn't matter. What we envision ends up then manifesting. Give it enough time. We take you now live to Austria in the Alps, outside of Telf. Paul Joseph Watson, give us your current location and what's happened in the last 21 hours.
Yeah, we're currently back at the hotel, Alex, uploading some videos. We've actually got an interview with Charlie Skelton. It was also a big story last night. He was basically raided at midnight by the cops in his hotel for the reason of simply going to retrieve something from his car. They searched his vehicle again. They had flashlights out in his face. They entered his hotel again, checked his papers.
So there's the headline: London Guardian reporter raided in hotel room. Get it up right now. Bombshell information.
The video's already up, so the article's going to be up as soon as I get off the air here. But yeah, again, they've been generally more friendly towards us, but we think that's obviously because, you know, Rob and Josh got in their faces with the camera. So
and we had people all over the world call them.
Yeah, you put all the numbers up. So they've generally been friendlier towards us, but there was a protester arrested earlier today. They had an armored personnel carrier. And again, just think how pathetic this is.
Yeah, we've lost his Skype.
Right at the end. No.
Stop for a moment, Paul. We're going to try to reconnect with you, or should you guys go back up to the roof? Because I know we're interviewing Skelton in 20 minutes. Perhaps, is Skelton with you?
No, Skelton's in a different hotel.
So is he joining us by phone, guys? Let's try to get you now to be able to start over. Maybe your Skype stabilized. Go back to the beginning, and I'm going to try to shut up and let you report. Charlie Skelton raided at his hotel. London Guardian reporter raided. Nighttime raid. Bilderberg police raid Guardian reporter. I mean, this is just insane at his hotel. And then go back over what's happened.
Yeah, it was basically midnight to 1 a.m. He went out to retrieve something from his vehicle. The police immediately descended upon him, entered his lodge, started questioning all the people who were in there, demanded their papers, again, searched the vehicle. They had flashlights out, you know, shining them in their face. No, from what Skelton said, they were basically there for at least 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. He actually jumped in the shower because they were there so long. So we just got the video up on that today, shortly after I get off the air. So again, another example of the harassment. And then after that, I was saying they had an armored personnel carrier driving up the road towards the Interalpen Hotel to deal with what was literally less than 10 bloggers and journalists at the entrance to the hotel. There were about 3 protesters at the checkpoint at the bottom of the hill, from what I saw from the images, because we were as close to the hotel as we could get, because they give us that permission because we're staying in the lodge nearby. But at the bottom checkpoint, the first checkpoint, I saw no more than 3 or 4 protesters. One of those was arrested. So again, that's testament to the fact they've got 2,000 police out here to deal with probably a total of 24 journalists, bloggers, and protesters. 2,000 police.
Well, you know what Proverbs says, the wicked flee when none pursue. That's Proverbs 28:1. Obviously, the police aren't idiots. Obviously, the Bilderberg group are not idiots. Why are they doing this when it villainizes them? Is it just because they're so disconnected and so arrogant they don't care, Paul?
I don't know whether they're acting on direct orders from Bilderberg. They obviously were in relation to what was going on right at the entrance to the hotel, because there was a security screw-up, not the first one, when one of the Bilderberg members arrived in a car and they couldn't confirm his papers or whatever. So he was literally sat there in the car. We were like 2 yards away. He was sat there for about 10, 15 minutes. Then another Bilderberg member arrived behind him, and they couldn't confirm his credentials. So that's not the first security screw-up that they've had. And we were basically right up against the car, but you can see absolutely nothing, even with the polarizing lens in, because these blacked out windows are so intense. We did capture some individuals, sent them out on Twitter, but again, they're very difficult to identify. But we did get as close as physically possible at the only entrance to the hotel right as they were driving in. We were literally 2 yards away from all the cars, and all those photos are on Twitter.
And we're showing some of those Twitter's tweet photos right now at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, and directly from Real Alex Jones on Twitter, and also your Twitter account, Paul Joseph Watson. But that was my next question. You just got to it. A lot of them have started to arrive. We see photos of the bright green armored personnel carrier. That is a military type. That is a heavy armored vehicle. Simply insane. I see Charlie Skelton out there surrounded by, the police vans and the police watching, and the armored vehicle. Just simply ridiculous.
No, there were busloads of police going up and down all day. They were just sending more and more buses of police when literally nobody had turned up. I mean, to compare it to Switzerland, there were at least 50 to 75 protesters who weren't just bloggers and journalists. Now, right next to the hotel, it was a smattering. There were a few people from Italy, a few Americans there, and us, and that was basically it. It was less than 10 people at the peak time when all the Bilderberg members were arriving. And Rob Dew was also able to hike up into the mountains and get some really good shots directly onto the Bilderberg Hotel, really clear shots of the balconies.
Well, you couldn't get the Bilderberg men, but you did get the female police, and that you get a gold star for.
There are a lot of female police around, and in fact, the one that they encountered in the police station was at the checkpoint today at the bottom. We saw her again.
Oh, my goodness. It looks like the Swedish bikini team in dark blue uniforms. It's not bad on the eyes. Anyways, excuse me, folks. I am a man. Expanding on all this, though, Paul, the police didn't get hysterical in England. They didn't get hysterical in the U.S. They didn't get hysterical in Turkey. They didn't get hysterical anywhere. They did a little bit in Greece. But what is up with the Austrians? I mean, they're really following the Germanic stereotype of flipping out. Talking to Estel and others, he said Germany's even worse. Just the hysteria of like 10 reporters and hundreds of police and armored vehicles. It's a joke. It'd be like armored vehicles showing up at a park where families are having picnics or something. I mean, what is the issue here?
I mean, they must realize how ridiculous it is seeing it today. And the other point is, again, there are no mainstream journalists there whatsoever. There was one RT cameraman who was staying in the same hotel as us, who we talked to, and he compared it. He was talking about Botswana and all these other places where he'd been, thrown in jail for filming. He said it was somewhat approaching that. But again, up at the entrance where financial
all right, we got to have him pause. Fade him down for a moment. He's going to have to reset. We're going to come back in the next break, finish up with him, then talk to the other reporters, then get Charlie Skelton on. But really important information coming across from Paul Joseph Watson. I think we should go ahead and call Rob Dew on his cell phone, so when we come back, he can be on video, but with the cell phone audio, or give Watson Dew's cell phone or vice versa. Let's do that. We're going to go to break and come back here in a moment and get some more of this intel, but looking at the Twitter photos that we're going to put into an article for Infowars.com of the armored vehicle. Armored vehicle joins Stingray, snooping towers, and jammers at Bilderberg. But the big headline is London Guardian accredited reporter covering Bilderberg for 9 years, no criminal record, media critic as well, well-known, has TV shows in the UK, a part of TV shows. I mean, the cops know who everybody is. They have dossiers. They know that Skelton's harmless. And they raided him last night at his hotel and he came into it at 1 a.m. This is pure intimidation and is shameful. But again, what do you expect in Botswana or Somalia or Austria? And it is this love of authoritarianism that gave the world Adolf Hitler and hot blonde policewomen. But I'm just joking around, folks. This is just ridiculous. I just want to believe in people. I want to think of the good in people. But man, government is just out of control, and they're run by a bunch of crooks. But we do have the first video of the hotel. They've kept people back. So far, our guys got it finally. That's up on Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com right now. Paul Watson, he probably doesn't have more to add. Let's just get doing here because I want to go ahead and get the Charlie Skelton article up first. I want to break that right now with Paul Watson's video. Now I have a stinking suspicion this is going to go viral. Where is the press, though? Will you stand up for each other and free speech worldwide, or will you all aid the globalists in destroying freedom? Now, before I go any further, briefly, I told you we were running out of Survival Shield X2. We ran out for a couple days. We had a limited amount that got finished. It is a very small amount compared to what we had last time. And group is working on then getting more of the deep earth crystals and manufacturing more. But that could take months. So if you want to get Survival Shield Nascent Iodine X2, you've heard the rave reviews. A lot of folks have deficiencies. If you're going to talk to your physician and take iodine, I would suggest this because it's just so pure. It's what I take. Infowarslife.com, and it helps fund the operation you can't lose. I want to talk about a perfect storm today. And the perfect storm I'm going to discuss is a really good perfect storm. I have prayed, literally, to be able to find a high-quality gun sponsor that is affordable and that is extremely well-made and effective that I can promote to my audience. About 6 months ago, we get contacted by Head Down Firearms, hdfirearms.com. Low cost compared to competitors, super high quality, super lightweight, super accurate, and the experts salivate over it and love it. Their entire line of 5.56, 308, and their accessories are simply amazing, and it's designed by battle-hardened vets that know what they wish they would have had. You need to go to hdfirearms.com today, or you can visit headdownproducts.com. That's headdownproducts.com. On top, all the major corporate boards, government boards, military boards, and then have their minions under them carrying out money laundering, snuff films, weapons contracts, illegal deals, arms sales to dictators. I mean, you name it, they're involved. Just pick anybody. They're involved at the top of Bilderberg, and they're just involved in every nastiness, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Henry Kissinger or David Rockefeller. It only gets worse. And again, these are the people that went to the scientific technological elite that Eisenhower warned of in '61 in his farewell address as Kennedy was coming in, and decided to go with this eugenics plan. The computer, we're going to be looking at that attempt. The officer is not dead, but is in the hospital. That's at least good news, because they want to kill a bunch of cops and get the cops all militarized, folks. It's the plan. People out there cheering stuff like this are idiots. Once a civil war starts, it's not going to be a joke. Scientists in a major report say lack of good gut bacteria could be giving you cancer. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at Rupert Murdoch preparing to step down as CEO from 21st Century Fox. Egyptian police arrest U.S. embassy worker on terror charges. Yeah, the Obama administration is running Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood inside of Egypt. That's Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, Alex Jones. Coming up, two very important reports: The Delusions of King Barack Obama by John Bown, and laser beams. Boeing's weapons get sci-fi sound effects. Leanne McAdoo looks deeply into that. We have another police officer shot in the back, randomly, probably part of the war on local police Soros is financing. That's out of the Houston Chronicle. So you can read it after we pass it. And we know what it gives Obama, dictatorial power over everything. And that's now coming out as WikiLeaks releases another piece of the puzzle. Now, again, joining us from Austria is Paul Joseph Watson, Rob Dew, and Josh Owens. Major new developments since we talked to them 21 hours ago here on the Wednesday edition. Bilderberg 2015, the very top, the paramount area of global power structure. The 150 members, they say it's 130. There's usually 15, 20 extra secret attendees. Come out in an Egyptian court. We already knew that, but it's really crazy that our government would be funding the enemies of our allies to put horrible people in charge to destroy one of the most populous countries, well, the most populous country in the Middle East. You talk about a powder keg situation. This is dangerous. Coming up, Paul Ryan, Pelosi-esque moment, says it's declassified. Speaking of TPP, says it's declassified and made public. Then they will release it to the public. So there you go. It's declassified and made public when it's agreed to.